welcome once again to the Sly Collection. Well, it was one of those things where I was looking at the calendar and I realized, well, my gosh, it's almost approaching the 1-year anniversary of Jacob's Gaming Weekend. That's right, this show's been going on now for almost a year, if not more than a year, depending on when you're watching this. So, I just thought to myself, how did I start this off? I started this off with the Sly Collection on the PlayStation 3. Or really, I started it off with this game, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus for the PlayStation 2. And I thought, that's such a special game in my heart. I mean, it really is. It's a special, special game. It means so much to me that I can't help but feel that it's only appropriate that we celebrate the 1-year anniversary of this show by tackling, and I know that the game controller is about to die. I can't help that. But I felt the only proper way we can really celebrate this momentous occasion is by playing Sly 2, Band of Thieves. Now, there is such a thing as improvement on sequels. I think the entire philosophy of franchises for years has always been that, the sequel is always the sequel. It's the second one that is fine enough, but it's not the grand, big vizier, statement in the same way the first one is. Now, video games, to me, I think are the only format of media to really defy that logic. I'm certain that you can come up with great examples of sequels in music and in movies and in television which surpass the original, because I know they're out there. But with video games, it's, with a couple of exceptions here and there, it always seems to be a growing pattern of you do the first game as like proof of concept of here's the format and it works in a certain way. And then you do the second game and you improve on everything that the first game laid out. The Sly franchise is most definitely an example of this. It sets itself up as, the not just a continuation, but the expansion upon everything that Game 1 was. And that's what we just have here. We have Sly 2.
Breaker Alpha Foxtrot, this is the Wizard. Do you read me, Sitting Duck?
This is Peking Duck. I hear you, Blizzard.
No, Sly, I'm the Wizard, and you're Sitting Duck.
I read you loud and clear, Lizard.
How many more lizard puns could we make here? Or wizard puns? I don't know.
Out in the field, but you've gotta loosen up. If we're gonna get to those clockwork parts, I need you on your toes. So in plain talk, what's your status?
Well, I've established myself in the basement, and I'm pretty sure I can rewire the service elevator if you can power it up from that security station.
Hang tough, pal. It might take some time, but I'll figure out a way to get up there.
Will it take time, or will it just take, 5 seconds? Ooh, okay. Let's try to really rearrange this. There it is. Okay. Had to get the camera in the right position. So, as we see here, we're no longer running on the one-hit meter. We have a life bar now, which is very, very important to the proceedings, because we'll be able to not have to be in such a linear position. Also, big advancements of Sly 2. Wow! Bentley is not behind his desk. He's actually here in the room with us.
Okay, let me at that security computer.
And we see here in just the first level how all these different components are going to work into play. Because when Bentley arrives, he's got his tech wizardry to help remove the intense sort of spotlight laser gimmick, which is a carryover from the first game, but still is going to be sort of rejiggered with in game number 2 because of the presence of these other characters.
Pretty well.
Oh, this operation is far from complete. Now that the lasers and spotlights are offline, Murray should be moving into position for your rendezvous. I'll stay here and provide computer support while you go on ahead.
All right. But that was always the big advancement. Like, I talked about this briefly in the SpongeBob playthrough, but it seemed to me at the time when we were growing up in the, early to mid 2000s that the grand advancement in the PS2 age of platformers was the concept that you would have, multiple characters to play through, and each one sort of delivered their own different style of gameplay. It seems quaint now because that sort of thing is all over the place. I mean, and it's not like it existed. It's not like this only happened with the PS2. You had games like Donkey Kong 64 where you could play through as different characters and have different sort of movesets. But it just seemed like that was one of the things, like, okay, we were used to it in the early PlayStation 2 days as, like, yep, you have a platformer and you play as the one character and you just go through it. But the trilogy aspect was sort of like, okay, well, now on the second game, we'll introduce this character who plays this sort of way and this other character who plays this other sort of way. And it was really like that. It was one of those things, like, you just felt like a game had become sort of like moving from full screen to widescreen, while that in that sort of theatrical way, or like say when movies go from black and white to color. There's like such an expanded palette of what you can do with those tools that really just made it an exciting, fun time. And that was the big advancement of, say, Sly 2, is you have sort of like, okay, you've got Murray here now, who's moved away from being the most obnoxious character in the first game.
I'm not gonna rest until you are defeated, monkey mother!
To now he's sort of the heavy, if Sly's the lightweight prancer and dancer, he's the stealth character, as he should be, seeing as how he's supposed to be the master thief. But then you have Bentley, who's got sort of text expertise to really make him, sort of the, like, strategy character, and then Murray can be the heavyweight who comes in as the brawler, and he pretty much plays like a tank. He's not the most stealthy or the most best at jumping or things like that, but he is the sort of guy who can handle combat the best. And you have those three different styles of play for each of the different kinds of players who would be playing this game. And it was an advancement for whenever this came out, 03 or 04 or whenever. It's one of those things that you take for granted now because we're so used to it being an industry standard that, yeah, there's different play styles for different characters, blah blah blah. But now, I don't know. It's a magical thing of childhood nostalgia that I think is not as present as it once was.
Wrong. We need to pull the plug on this operation right now.
Freeze, Cooper.
Carmelita, you're sounding much more American than you did in the first game.
You foolish raccoon. I've caught you red-handed.
Oh, really? Then who broke in last night and made off with all the clockwork parts? You've got the motive.
Someone already stole the parts?
Don't play dumb with me. It might not have been him, Carmelita.
Crimey.
Instead of entry and guard casualties all point to this being a Claw Gang job.
The Claw Gang?
Sheila, I allowed you to sit in on this stakeout as a favor to the Contessa.
I love exposition.
Need any help? Oh, I think you might. Look at the facts. Facts? Sly Cooper is right here. I caught him red-handed. I'm just saying that the...
Seriously though, why does she now sound like she's from LA or Arizona or something like that than when she was very clearly a Latina fox in the first game? I don't know. I know she's still a horrible shot.
Shake a leg, Murray. It's time to go.
Hold still!
Hold still.
This wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah, well, this is where things get fun.
This is where the fun begins.
It's a bit of a Crash Bandicoot kind of thing we got going on here. Like, Carmelita is the boulder and we're just having to run away from her.
You're all going to jail.
Oh, yeah?
Hit me up at the rendezvous.
Ooh, slow motion. It's not like the first game where that's just a feature. Or maybe it is, I don't know. But it's definitely not something that's, like, easily unlockable, as it was in game number 1.
Hey, come back here, Ringtail!
Oh, hey, now, who was calling me Ringtail? I thought we'd moved beyond the epithets, Carmelita.
You can't escape me, Raccoon!
Well, slurs. Hey, Carmelita. We're no name calling here.
We talked about this in game number 1. There's no need for, slurs. It's just, that's uncalled for behavior and demeanor, I would say. Look at the atmosphere below this, too, as the van gets chased by the cop cars. Well, she definitely hit the car, but that did not seem to affect anything in a major way. Again, they've remastered everything except the cutscenes, which are still in 4:3, even though they were designed to be in 16:9. So let's just crop the frame right now.
Leela, was a reference to the Claw Gang just a slip of the tongue, or an intentional clue?
Or an intentional plot, backstory bit.
On the missing Clockwork parts. Clockwork. He was consumed with jealousy for the Cooper clan's thieving reputation.
Yeah?
Is it inappropriate to refer to him as a monster? No, not at all.
Oh, well, I mean, if you answered your own question, then I don't think you needed to ask it in the first place.
Wiping out a rival's family line. Imagine the hatred fueling that first decision to replace his mortal body with soulless machinery.
Well, I mean, he was pretty much a cartoon supervillain of an owl.
He caught up with my parents, and I wound up in an orphanage.
Well, him and like 4 other people, but they weren't as nearly important.
And Murray, the Brawn.
Well, now he is the Brawn. Before he was just the idiot.
2 years ago, I thought I'd finished it. How naive to think I could so easily put an end to that kind of hatred.
Well,
And now he's back. In pieces, sure, but the threat is real. Does the Claw Gang even realize what they've stolen?
but like, also, who displayed the bones of Clockwork? Like, why was he a museum artifact afterwards? It would be like sort of taking Al Capone's skeleton and then displaying it in the Smithsonian, as if like that's supposed to be like some grand museum exhibit. I don't know, it was weird. So we don't have a hideout menu as much as we do. Sly 2 designs itself more like a Saturday morning cartoon show. I mean, the first game did that as well, but this one definitely is like, here's episode 1, and watch a movie. It's very much like, this is meant to be a Saturday morning cartoon series that you, like, watch around the breakfast table. Which makes it somewhat ironic, then, that we are only, showing it on Sundays. But, hey, that's schedules for you. Who can control these things? Me? No, certainly not. Anyway, I'd say that, that little atmospheric intro, that's a good place to wrap up this episode right here. Thank you so much for watching. On the screen, you'll see more episodes of The Gaming Weekend and more episodes of Serenade Caffeine. Be sure to smash that like button and share the video with your friends. And, of course, don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell to be notified about when new videos come out. And we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye!